Hello and welcome to the Lazy Book Lovers podcast. I'm Gavin. Well, that's not a normal person. Hello, I'm Gavin, the editor of the Lazy Book Lovers podcast. Today's episode is a kind of best of the tangents of the last few episodes. This is something a bit interesting. Today we're going through the best tangents from episodes 103, 107, 108, 111, and 114. This is the all tangents episode, so if you're looking for any type of context, there is none. However, if you listen to those specific episodes again, maybe you'll hear them, I'm not sure. I'll try and do a little bit of intro and outro for each of the clips, or I might just let them play. Who knows? I'm the editor, I get to decide. They've given me power today, they will regret it eventually. Anyway, here is the first series of clips.
Totally off topic, but kind of off topic, and I just want to talk about it because I watched it and I liked it.
Tell me.
I watched on Netflix The Lost City, which has Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in it.
I've seen clips of this on TikTok.
Oh my god, it's really funny.
I didn't know what it was. I just saw the clips of those two, and I was like,
the reason why it's related in my head, and my brain's been like, you have to talk about it now, because we tangent. So she is a romance writer. But she writes the story of, like, an archaeologist and her hunky, like, boyfriend, whatever he is. They go on adventures where they, like, discover lost kingdoms and stuff.
Oh.
But she actually is an archaeologist, and, like, she has a background in it. And her new book that comes out, this billionaire, which is, by the way, played by Daniel Radcliffe, and he does an insane billionaire so well.
I've seen a clip of him in something that I didn't recognise. Yeah. Maybe it's from this.
Yeah. So basically he was like, okay, your stupid romance book, your translations of the hieroglyphs are correct.
Oh.
He's like, so you're going to come with me to this jungle and you're going to find this lost treasure. And she's like, no, I'm a romance writer.
No, I don't think so.
He's like, yeah, it wasn't really a question.
Yeah, by the way, you're doing it.
He kidnaps her, and then her very handsome cover model who goes to her, because he's basically been the cover model for all 20 novels in this series, so people think he is Dash.
And that's Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that's Channing Tatum. He's her cover model, and she gets kidnapped from an event where they had a row, and he's like, well, I'm in love with her, so, like, I have to go and get her. And then he tries to become, like, spring into rescue. He knows, like, some dangerous ex-army guy who specialises in finding kidnapped people. So he rings him up, which is Brad Pitt, by the way. And Brad Pitt's, like, classic, like, hero. And Channing Tatum's obviously, like, has the looks of classic hero, but not.
Yeah.
And then something happens to the Brad Pitt character. And then he basically has to rescue, quote marks, the romance writer from the jungle. And then things keep happening. But she's like, I'm not in one of my novels. Like, this isn't happening.
I saw, like, a clip where she was tied to a chair or something. She was like, help me!
Yeah. And he's, like, trying to, like, get her out using a nail file.
Yeah.
And she's like, get something in a knife! And he's like, I've already got a nail file. Will you just be patient? You're stressing me out. And, like, there's a bit where he gets leeches on his back and she has to pick them off and they're both being like, huh. And then he's like, how would you write this romantically in one of your novels? And then she talks about it and basically turns herself on while talking about it. And then she's like, put your shirt on. Like...
Brilliant.
And there's a bit where, like, he strips completely because he's like, is there leeches on my bits? And she's like... And then it's really funny because she's like, you think about a thing, but you don't really think about a thing, and then you see the thing, and then it's just like, you never really expected the thing to look the way it does, and then, like, you're confronted with the thing. She's like, I'm not really looking at things, so I know this is a medical situation, and it's just like, it's funny, guys. But anyway,
sounds quite good.
That's set in, like, a Spanish-speaking mysterious island, so that's why it reminded me, and I had to say it.
And then I just had to tell you about it.
I had to tell you all about it. I bought myself a nice dinner from Tesco's and I watched that film and it was a very nice evening.
I trimmed my hair last night. Do you like it? Because it was annoying me.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, I gave myself.
You haven't seen my hair down, but I did a bit of chaotic fringe cutting the other week too.
And I did my.
There's
You showed me it when I did
I show you
recording last week.
Yeah. It's alright, it's growing out a bit now, it looks better. But it looked really shit when I first did it.
Well, when you showed me, it was, like, not styled, so...
Yeah. Yeah, again, that's impulsivity. It was 12:30, and I was, like, cleaning my teeth, and I was like, you know what I should do right now? I should cut my hair.
Yeah, that's basically what I was like. It was, like, 9 p.m, My daughter was hanging off me as I was doing it. I was like, let's trim my hair.
Like,
Let's cut all my hair.
When I got made redundant from my job earlier this year, Mum, like, in the morning, like, one time Mum was like, oh, I saw the hairdressing scissors out on the side last night.
What are you doing?
Everything okay? I was like, I nearly did some, like, Celtic cutting, and I decided to put them down and walk away.
I'm proud of you. Although I was in the mood to watch BoJack Horseman again, and I was like, "Oh, is this my depression new?"
Maybe that can be one of your symptoms.
Because I remember, was it last? I think it was like last Christmas I watched it, and oh my god, it put me in a mental slump.
Maybe that needs to be one of your warning signs.
If I'm like, I'm really in the mood to watch Depression Station.
Yeah, when all the books start to get a bit deep.
Yeah.
And everything you're watching's a bit much. I'm like, oh, I think my theory is this is your equivalent of listening to a sad song when you're sad. I think this is your equivalent.
Probably, yeah.
That's what I think in my head. Whenever you do this, I'm like, oh.
But yeah, I'm wondering if the show maybe might give me Squid Game vibes.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Which I also want to rewatch.
I've never watched it. I know.
I only watched it like last summer. I was like really behind because I like to be behind.
Well, they made an actual game show of it. Didn't they?
Which if you've watched the show, it's ridiculous that they made a game show about it.
Yeah, and also lots of the contestants have said they're a bit psychologically fucked up from the game show.
Yeah, I was seeing on TikTok loads of people talking about it, and they were like complaining about how like they had to use the lube from the condoms as lip balm.
Lip balm, yeah.
And everyone was like, why is lip balm that important? It's like, because they were, for like a solid week, they were in aircon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like the red light, green light thing.
Took like 9 hours to record or something.
Yeah, you've seen the same things.
Yeah. Crazy. And the whole, I mean, is I would say it's on par with Hunger Games marketing being like Subway sandwiches.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you've really misunderstood the point of it.
Yeah.
It's only
it's very dystopian.
It's only like 8 episodes, so I would recommend.
We are living in a dystopian, but
100%. Yeah, can't wait to see the history books about this.
You know, those things are like the final series of the UK is getting really rocky.
Yeah, the writers are really throwing everything at the wall in a minute, aren't they?
See what sticks. Anyway, should we kill the poor this week? Kill the disabled? How about them immigrants? What are we doing this week, guys?
Oh my god.
Are we going to address any of the things we've done for this country? No.
No, not at all.
Anyway, on a different note.
We're now into the big meat and potatoes of it. We are now into the big rants I know you're all here for. This one kind of starts out talking about fairies and then eventually ends up hating capitalism. Enjoy!
And a little tangent.
Okay.
To go along with this. So, in the story, there's a changeling child, which, in case you don't know, anyone listening, or in case you don't know, I assume you know the story of changeling. So, there used to be a belief, I guess maybe some cultures still believe it, that if your baby or child started acting weird, it was likely that they'd been kidnapped away and replaced with a fey child, known as a changeling. It's kind of like a cuckoo type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw a TikTok that had a very interesting theory. Obviously, TikTok, it was someone's theory on TikTok. I'm not saying
this is not academic or absolute,
but someone who does content around neurodivergency was sharing these lists of that used to be given out.
Yeah, no, I have seen this of like
how to find out, how to tell if your child is a changeling, and they were all basically symptoms of a neurodivergent child, specifically an autistic child.
Autism is really hard to spot until you're about 2ish, because that's when, if there is any developmental delays or any social
Well, unless it's severe, they won't even discuss it until your child's 3 years old. In the UK, anyway.
But it won't show up until you're about 2, like, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen TikToks where people have done, like, things that my baby did that I now know were symptoms.
Yeah,
And, like, how it manifests when they are, like, babies as well. And they're like, now I know.
Well, it's the same with my son. Like, I look back and I'm like, there's so many things that were obviously ADHD, and I mentioned it as early as I could, but they would not touch it.
They went to school, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then when I went to school, they were like, oh, you should have started this by now. And I'm like, look, the health visitors won't touch it. There's, like, this big issue in the UK of this, but yeah.
I think this is an issue. At least in Western.
Yeah, but places. I mean, like, specifically in the UK, because that's only where I have my experience.
Yeah.
Like, there's about a 1.5 year gap when no one will touch it.
Yeah.
Between schooling and, like, health visitors. Anyway, yeah, so things like stimming with hands is a changeling symptom. Not maintaining eye contact, bad sleep schedule. I can't remember what else was there, but they were like the 3 main ones I remembered.
You do hear people saying, oh, my child was completely normal until they were like 2 or 3. Is that, were they though?
Yeah. But yeah, so these are normal, real...
I don't like that term, sorry, I'm just quoting. Yeah. I don't believe that term, I want to be clear.
But like, yes, so these real things that people in our history said were evidence of changeling children, now we would say is evidence of neurodivergency. And I think that's crazy. Yeah. Because not only does that possibly 100% prove that this isn't a newfangled thing like people like to say, but that also is quite scary because changeling children were not treated well, and they would have been physically, emotionally abused. I think it was quite similar to like witch trials and stuff, and that's really disgusting.
Yeah.
But also, in the history of the world, I don't think any culture really has a good history with treating anyone that has mental illness or a disability. So
indigenous cultures definitely deal with it better, but westernized ones, especially Christian ones, not to use broad strokes, but like, even, do you know, right down to like having 3 meals a day is because of the church.
Oh, the church can just fuck off.
That was something they introduced. It's around a prayer, a daily prayer cycle.
So much shit that everything that is wrong with capitalism
even right
is
down to
religious.
To being told we have to eat 3 meals a day. That is a Christian thing.
And then people who like to graze,
rant too much. Yeah.
People who like to graze, like me, are eating wrong. No, I'm
slovenly.
not. Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't believe that lazy is a real thing. I actually discussed this with someone, and they were like, yes, it is, and I'm like, no, you can fuck off with your laziness.
Yeah, I don't think if someone's being lazy, something else is going on.
Yeah, and lazy implies that we have to be productive all the time, and productive in a certain way. You can't be, like, personally productive. You have to be productive in a way that helps, like, capitalism, basically.
So, yeah, this is such a tangent, but, like, I've actually got a blog coming out on this topic that I wrote recently. Do you know how many adults I know that don't have any hobbies?
Yeah.
They just... And I understand when you get busy with life, and especially if you've got kids or people you care for, it can be really hard to find time for something that's not productive. But...
Productive in quote
marks.
Yeah.
But, like, so many adults don't have any hobbies. Like, when you ask them what they do for fun, they don't do anything. They go to work or they come home.
They watch Netflix usually.
Yeah. But it's like, you can even, like, if that's if your hobby is you really do like TV shows.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's, but I think a lot of people just kind of zone out and watch it in the evenings.
Yeah. They come home, they make dinner, they switch the telly on, they clean up from dinner, go for a shower, go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the argument that people we get all the time on, like, book communities where someone will come along and be like, but you don't, how do you actually have time to read this many books? Or, and it's like, well, when you're kind of just zoning out doing that, I made the choice to read.
Yeah.
It's like... We've all got...
But so, I mean, like, so it's just people don't have any hobbies, or if they do have hobbies, they only do them if they're like good at them. Which I was trying to tell a friend recently. I was like, do some shit drawings.
Oh yeah, this is.
Do a crap painting. Do some shit crocheting. Do something.
You don't have to be good at something to enjoy it.
I was like, you know, like there's someone. I do put this in the blog. There's someone who got made redundant this year, and was very violently reminded that they are cog in the machine. I have never felt more like I mean nothing to these. And this was, you know, quite a small corporate that I worked for. It was bought out by a very big corporate, who then I'm not allowed to talk about that actually. But basically they chose to make the staff redundant from the place they bought out. They made me sign an NDA, guys, so I can't tell you anything else. But that whole process was so brutal and so impersonal that I was like, and a lot of people's identities are tied up in work, especially if they have nothing outside of work.
Yeah, so
this is what I'm saying. You need something to be passionate about that's not your work, because at these days, any moment work can go.
And I think this was like the big struggle that a lot of people had during lockdown.
Yeah.
Because without
work,
the purpose of
nothing.
going to work, they were like, what? Like, look, I'm not glamorizing lockdown.
No.
I'm not saying it was great. I thrived because I was like, I don't have to waste my time going to work. I can just spend time with my kids and enjoy reading or drawing or playing on the trampoline or whatever.
Well, like to use a non-lockdown example, the time when after I was made redundant before I got a new job, so I had like 2 months off. I have worked since I was like 15. I have never had 2 months off where I wasn't in school or travelling, or I have never ever in 15 years had that much time off.
I will never have that much time off. That makes me sad.
That's what I mean. So to use that as an example, for me, it was like discovering what life could be like. As in, I could eat as much as I wanted, or like not having to take stuff into an office, or have a timed lunch break. I didn't realise how much I hate that. And I understand why I have to have timed lunch break, blah, blah, blah.
No, you don't know, do you?
Yeah,
because as long as you're getting your work done.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I was like, it was just like the ability
I'm just very anti-capitalist, as you know.
Yeah, the ability to like eat when I wanted to, eat what I wanted to, because I could cook it because I was at home. So eat better, to not have to have the mental energy of pre-preparing all this food, get as much sleep as I wanted, just have time to do shit.
Yeah.
Like, I can just go to the post office tomorrow because I have time.
Yeah.
And no one's messaging being like, you're supposed to be available on Teams, where are you?
Teams. Because my entire job is to just watch how long you're unavailable on Teams for.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, go swimming at 1 p.m. because the pool is not then full of children and adults. Which, I realise these are really first world problems, which is apparently not a PC phrase to say anymore, but anyway. But it was for me, it was that glimpse into like, because pandemic was completely different for me because I just left a really awful job and I was kind of in almost recovery, and I didn't like it. I said my 2 months off was like pandemic plus being able to go places.
Yeah.
And especially as I could drive. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go and wander around B&M for an hour because I can. Probably spend money, but I didn't have to. Do you know? But it's, yeah. So, I'm not.
Anyway.
I can't remember why that tangent started.
Fairies.
Do you know they rejected me for their influencer program?
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Even though they've accepted me as an affiliate marketer for their, like, more proper program. For the one where you get to listen to audiobooks, the ALC, I got rejected.
Oh, you got rejected for that one? That's interesting. I wonder what their...
I don't know, they've got requirements now on how many followers you need to have on like your socials and stuff.
Possibly, because
so it's possibly that they've got them stricter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got rejected. Jokes on them. Do you know what, for my blog, I have had... I can't remember the follower numbers now. Basically, doing very well. Looks like I'm going to beat next year. That's it, I've done half of last year's visitor count in the first 3 months of the year.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm already up to like 6,000 plus.
Oh,
and I got 12,000 overall last year.
Very good.
And that's just in 3 months. So, jokes on them, I'm about to go famous. And that's the technical term.
I'm about to go famous. Oh, have you seen, this is an entire tangent, have you seen that's what Spotify have done fucked up?
Oh, they changed their terms of service, so now they're
to-
allowed to reproduce your work anywhere they want once you've uploaded it.
Yeah.
As a...
Like, they can make their own original stories based on your intellectual
So
property.
if you put something up on their audiobook bit on Spotify now, they have changed their terms of service so that they can take your work, your intellectual property, and they can make sequels, they can make spin-offs, they can do whatever they want with it. They could probably even sell those rights to a TV show. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So they've had obviously a lot of backlash and a lot of people coming back off. Like, it was people saw it as but they marketed themselves as a great alternative to Audible, which really fuck over the indie author. And then this happened and people actually read the terms and were like, no. So everyone's fucking left. Sorry, I'm really sweary. Everyone's left.
Really sorry for anyone who was like just signed them not reading it because that's what you do, and they're like, we've updated our terms of service. You do just go, right, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad for anyone who has signed it and didn't read it.
So now
What do they do?
Well, now they've claimed that the wording has misrepresented it, but it's more like they've been caught being dicks. So they're redoing their terms.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel awful for indie authors because like audiobooks cost so much money, and every platform where they can put them up are trying to screw them over.
Yeah.
It costs thousands to
Like,
get an audiobook done.
Even if you like janky record it yourself, there's still the time and the production energy, and like you probably have to pay to get it on there. And
Yeah, I saw someone who's an indie author, and she said that with her audiobooks, she wants to do an audiobook for all of her books, like for accessibility reasons.
yeah,
And if she adds up all the amount she spent on her audiobooks, it's the same amount she spent on her house.
Jesus.
Which is crazy.
No, there's
Audiobooks
not a lot of
cost so
return on
much.
audiobooks
No, and
for
even
small authors.
yeah, even like traditional authors. I mean, the publishers don't get much from it, I don't think. But yeah, like Audible really screws you over. They take like 75% of it, and
No,
you
so
have to be.
If you are
exclusive or whatever.
exclusive to Audible, you get 30% or 20%. Don't quite. You guys know me to go look it up because this is off the top of my head. But I think if you're non-exclusive, it is really low. It's like 10%.
Yeah,
It's really low,
ridiculous.
10 or 20%. Yeah, look it up. I
Yeah,
don't know
and
the exact
Spotify
figures.
was kind of heralded as a great alternative, and now it turns out not. So I would suggest checking out Libro FM to support audiobooks if you can afford so.
Subscribed.
Yeah, I don't know how the authors get paid from that. I don't know how it works out. I mean, it's great in terms of the consumer.
Because it's not.
You get a lot of audiobooks.
You get a lot. You're not restricted to one credit a month. You are as many as you want.
Yeah,
Which is why I've been using it so much.
yeah. And I don't know how the authors get compensated
I
though,
don't
so
know.
I can't comment
Which is
on
why
that.
they don't have many new titles on there either.
Yeah, they do on the American one, but we don't. The British one, we don't get them. English one. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway.
And with that, we now transition away from rants about things onto just talking about book stuff, basically. How people like to read stuff, reading things, books, reading. You'll see what I mean.
Currently reading 3 books, which is really
Yeah.
good for me.
That's less than me currently.
Yeah. And I've read 15, and I can't stop.
I think I'm up to 13.
Yeah.
Which for my year goals, it's like, you're ahead. And I'm like, oh.
And when I told my brother, he was like, I don't understand how it's possible to have read 15 books. And I was like, well, it's almost been a month.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of them are audios, which
Yeah.
does make it easier because you can listen to audios while you're doing other things.
Because, like, so you're reading, like, a book in a day? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's not actually possible. And I was like, of course it's actually possible. It's just we have very different, like,
reading styles.
priorities.
Yeah.
And I said, he was like, how can you read that? I said, on average, I read 100 pages an hour. That's, like, my
Yeah.
average. So one night, I literally devoted 4 hours to reading. I read a 400-page book.
Yeah.
Like, and also throwing out there, my brother doesn't work, so I don't know why he's saying to me,
Where'd you find the time?
yeah. But I was just like, and reading is a skill. Like, it's almost like practice makes better.
Yeah.
The more you read, the faster you can read, because you kind of train your brain to comprehend it faster.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not that obviously for us it's like if you read one book a year or 100 books a year, like it's all valid. But so that's not what we're saying.
No,
but...
I'm saying don't tell me that I haven't read those books or it's impossible when it's not.
Or like I did my last job at one time I was like, oh, I've only read this many, and they were like, only.
Yeah, and it's different for different people. Like when, you know, in the book community I read 150 books last year, right?
Yeah.
In the book community, I was like, that's really cool, but also barely anything really. That's pretty average.
There's some people who are like, oh, I read 50 books this month, and I'm like, ow.
Yeah. But then I go to my mum and I'm like, Mum, I've read 150 books because I know she's going to be impressed.
Yeah.
Like,
And then some people would go to me like, oh, you've read that many books, you must be really smart. And I'm like, most of them are face smart, so do with that what you will. Nothing wrong with face smart, but just like, I'm not over here reading like really intellectual stuff.
But yeah, when I said, oh yeah, I've read this many books in January so far, just like as a discussion, and then someone said to me, oh, but you just skim them, don't you? And I'm like, why? Like, no, I just read my books. Like, why?
Just that you exist. Who gives a shit? What?
Why are you trying to rain on my parade? Come on. I'm not saying it to show off, and I'm not saying it to say that
I'm better than you in some way.
because you told me you'd read 4. I wasn't. You said you'd read 4, and I was like, well done. I've read this many so far. I wasn't downing yours. I was just saying we're both doing so well. Like,
I love these books.
You've been doing a lot of Kindle reading, haven't you? By the sounds of it.
Yeah, not on purpose, just because these were on KU and they were on my list.
And the Souls one. Me and digital reading are not getting along currently. I fall asleep.
So I've got a physical book that I started, Raybearer, and I was enjoying it, but for some reason I'm not reading it.
Yeah. I've been doing audio and physical, but like digital books, I sit down with them and I fall asleep. It's because there's like it's just looking at a screen and I'm just asleep.
Well, actually, weirdly, the way they're helping me at the moment, because I can't talk about real life stuff because it involves work things and whatever, but real life has been really stressful. I'm starting a new job, and that's enough, I think, for you to know if you've been paying attention. And sleep is obviously, as usual, when I'm stressed, sleep becomes an issue. So for this, with a Kindle, I can turn all the lights down and I can read it on low light setting.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm reading a book, I have to have lights on.
Yeah.
So it's helping me fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because I'm falling asleep with the Kindle in my hand a lot.
It's helping me away. It's helping me too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, my partner has been coming in and putting me to bed so many times where I've fallen asleep holding my book.
Yeah.
And he's had to take it and put my phone on charge for me and stuff.
Yeah, like, a couple of times. So when I go to my partner's in London, sometimes he'll game for a bit. And I'll sit on the bed reading or do blog stuff or whatever I'll do. Whatever I feel like doing, basically. And we ignore each other for a few hours. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember being able to do that before kids came along. Me and my partner still ignore each other, but it's just I've always got a kid there.
Yeah. And so I'll be on the bed and I'll get more and more slumped.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're gonna fall asleep," and I'm like, "No, I'm just getting cozy."
Yeah, we used to always do that. Like, he'd play games and I would read my book.
Honestly, gamers and readers meant
perfect. Yeah.
Perfect dating relationship.
Yeah, or and then eventually in his room he set up an extra TV so I could do my games. Set up a TV so I could. But yeah.
Yeah, because you know that whole. Sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, I'm only going to play one more game," and I'm like, "You're fine, keep playing." I'm good over here.
I'm going to do a few more chapters. It's all good here.
Yeah, you're good. I'm not annoyed.
I read this as a book read, and I didn't realise until we were discussing it at the end that everyone else in the group are American, so they were all really confused by a lot of it. And they're like, to people, and they didn't know I was English, and they're like, I don't think that this is actually how English people talk. And I was like, oh no, it definitely is. It's actually a very good representation. And then someone was like, I find it hard to believe that she didn't know what a small was. And I was like, no, I mean, I find it hard to believe that her character doesn't know what a small was. I find it hard to believe that Red didn't know what a small was, because he doesn't really seem the type that like watches TV or whatever. I was like, but no, 100% I would know English people that don't know what a s'more is made up of. I was like,
I know that what they are, but I didn't know what they were made of until I went travelling with Americans and we had a bonfire and they mid s'mores.
Yeah, and they were like, what do you have at a campfire? And I was like, we put a marshmallow on a stick. Like, if we're feeling fancy, we'll have like a kebab stick. Like, I don't know what you were.
Classic is getting just a wooden twig from the woods and like, this is fine.
This will be absolutely fine. It's not got fox shit on it at all.
Maybe a token chariot in the fire.
Clean it up.
And with that, we're going to call that to a close. Hope you enjoyed all the clips I found whilst looking for something interesting and tangential for us to listen to today for the barrage of random tangents. I tried to vaguely theme them, as you can tell by me introducing them each time, but I did my best with the material I was given. If anyone wants a fun drinking game whilst you're listening along to this, drink every time someone says the word tangent or an that I've managed to not edit out twice now. As I was listening to it, I was slightly kicking myself every time I heard either of them say the word Aside from that, remember to like us, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to check out our website at lazybooklovers.wordpress.com. Add us on Discord. There's a link in the bio. I am one of the mods there. You can come and chat to me as I complain about editing these way too late at night. Usually the day before this comes out. I hope you all enjoyed today's weird and wonderful thing. Bye-bye now.
Wow, that was anticlimactic because I didn't realise that was the end. There we go then.